Well, first I want to say thank you to everybody. I know that the number one thing I think that we have of value is our time. And you guys spending some time with me is much appreciated. Those of you on the East Coast, it's your lunchtime too. So really appreciate everybody spending some time with me. That we will get into this. Oh, one other quick housekeeping topic. I think I was a little slow to get the deck out last month. For anyone who was at last month's webinar, we will not do that. Heather is recording this so we can get the recording out immediately following to anybody that wants the recording. So let's get to it. So if you were on last week's webinar, you might have seen some information that we went over. Again, shameless plug, last week's webinar, make sure you sign up for these to get them. But we reviewed a few key changes occurring in the home services space. First, what we saw last month when we were looking at this was, according to data provided by Google, there was a 19% overall increase in a cost per conversion inside Google Ads. A conversion here is defined as a phone call, a form fill, chat, or a web booking. Obviously, I think probably goes without saying that varied a bit by trade. A 16% increase in what we saw for HVAC cost per conversions versus a 23% increase in what we were seeing in electrical leads. Side note here, the data I'm going to show you here is unique to the United States and Canada. So that's the data set we asked them to look at, and obviously can vary by market. This is an aggregate of all that data in the United States and Canada. But there was about a 19% increase in a cost per conversion for plumbing, electrical, HVAC, roofing, garage doors. LSA, for the same categories that we track there, saw a 20% increase. So LSA was not spared this increase in cost per conversion either, moving from an average of $50.46 in 2023 to so far $60 and a little over $60.50 in 2024. We also saw last month that the average touch points increased. So the amount of touch points customers are using also had an increase. So on average, customers in the home services space were using 5.5 touch points before filling out a form or making a purchase with a home services business. How that breaks down specifically is 3.8 digital touch points and 1.7 offline touch points. That's up from 4.9 average touch points the year before. Don't normally show what it's up from, because if you don't really think about it, 4.9 to 5.5 doesn't feel like a lot. But percentage-wise, it's a pretty big increase for the amount of touch points consumers are utilizing before they make a purchase. And you can probably see it down here, but again, that came from a study of actual customers that made purchases in the home services space. We also discussed, again, based off of Google's research, and actually backed up by what our clients were saying too, because this one was harder for me to swallow, but that 59% of customers who filled out a lead form or made a purchase spent a week or less in the overall journey. But how that actually breaks down is 30% of customers are making the actual purchase day one. Almost as many, or 29%, are making their conversions day 2 to 7, with another 19% day 8 to 30. Again, when I saw that data from Google, we went out to a lot of our customers and said, like, can you validate this? Because that seems a little strange to me. But sure enough, some of our largest clients, when they went back and looked at their data, were seeing the same thing. So what does that really tell us when we're just looking at what's happening there? And this is hopefully where everyone's drinking a big sip of their coffee right now, but it's costing us more to get leads. Customers are using more touch points to make their decision, and customers are taking longer to actually make the purchase. So today, what I want to talk about is a way to trend, not by really focusing on more leads, but focusing on getting better leads, how we can get better leads. The way we do that is by defining and optimizing for lead value. So when clients tell us, hey, I need more leads, or their leads are weak, the first place we look is not, oh, just spend more money, right? Throw more money at it. But instead, we look at what's the bidding strategy you're optimizing towards. And I think that's where a lot of marketers actually struggle, is defining and then optimizing for lead value, not just lead volume, right? It's not about just making the phones ring all the time, especially if they're bad rings. It's about making sure that when the phone rings, those are good customers that are most likely to convert. Really, the way I like to think about it is quality over quantity. When you bid to value, That sometimes actually even means getting less leads. I don't know about you guys, but I live through the PMAX Armageddon where my phone's ringing off the hook for a lot of our clients, but it was, say habla español, or it was, can I get a job, or just spammy calls. I might have gotten a lot more leads and a lot more phone call ringing, but those were not good quality. Again, it's quality over quantity, lead with that value. In this case, in my opinion, less is actually more. It doesn't mean there isn't a time or place to drive volume, but as long as in the long run, it's critical, I think, to win more high value customers. That's how we're going to generate that sustained profitable growth. And it also happens to be an opportunity to create a competitive advantage, especially in the market that we're in now. What I mean by that is in the home services is in the lead generation group. So I probably should have backed up and told you guys that. So at Google, they have a lead gen group. And home services is actually inside that lead generation group. So we're with things like legal and higher ed, and those kind of groups are all in this lead gen group from Google. And according to data that was provided by Google for another study they did, less than 20% of lead generation advertisers are bidding to a lower conversion action today. So in other words, 1 in 5 advertisers or marketers are bidding to anything beyond a defined conversion action inside Google Ads. In some cases, those conversion actions can even be as basic as a click or a website visit. So knowing what you're telling Google you want to optimize to is going to change what you're going to get. And in the home services space, less than 5% of advertisers or marketers are using anything beyond a basic conversion action tracked inside Google Ads interface. We can get beyond that click, beyond the website visit, beyond the phone call. We get smarter. We can even go further down funnel. Think about optimizing to a booked call or a bookable call even, or a run job, or even revenue or return on ad spend. The further down we get, the better the quality of the customer will be for us. That makes sense? Everyone's like, clear as mud. All right, keep cooking. So what is a high value customer to your business? The bottom line is you have to move beyond just the lead, that phone call, form fill, chat, web form, and start identifying with what a high value customer is for you. It is different by every single business. We'll get to that here in a second. And those high value customers are what's going to drive that long-term effective and efficient growth for your business. So that's what I mean when I say less is more. I might be getting less leads, but if they're better leads, that's significant. Every single journey is different, right? The lead generation journeys are complex and changing. In our space particularly, we don't end with a simple add to cart and checkout. If we did, this would be a lot simpler. Our journey involves more consequential or complex purchase decisions, right? With a final sale happening offline. So that can make it harder for us to predict the highest value customer. And every business is unique, and so are your customers. Like lead generation businesses all have different goals, different challenges, different technologies. Some companies are on Sarah systems, some companies are on Service Titan. Making sure you understand how that technology plays with this is super important. And then you have different services that you offer, different customer lifetime value goals for your business. All of that has to come into play when we're mapping this out. So what does it take? It takes time, the right people, and good technology, and a little bit of a mindset shift, right? For us at Camp, we've been testing this for over 2 years with help from some of our partners. And we're really excited about continuing to evolve that with some of our partners as well. So what we learned was pretty simple, and that's what I'm going to share with you guys, which is follow a recipe that works. And here it is, 3 steps. It starts with something very, very easy, mapping your customer journey. I say easy, but it can be complicated, but you don't need to make it complicated. What you want to do is map your customer journey and assign values to each step from the lead all the way down to the sale and beyond. Something I'm going to cover here in a minute. Don't just think about our business ending with the sale. We want to integrate your offline data or your first party data to get a full picture of your customers, right? Data is that fuel that you're going to put in that AI rocket ship. If you don't have it, it feels like you're driving a race car in second gear. That was for you, Matt Steensland. And then bid to optimize your value with AI, right? So once I understand my customer journey, and then I'm pulling back in that first party data to get the entire customer journey fed back in, I then can turn on and take advantage of the thing that seems to be the buzzword on everybody's lips, but AI, right? That AI will help us bid to that lower funnel conversion. So now instead of just saying, hey, Google, I think it's success when I get a phone call, we could say, hey, Google, I think it's success when I've booked and run a job for revenue. Think about that difference. Even if I'm getting less of them, I'm getting more of what I want. Any questions there? You guys are easy today. All right, let's get to it. Oh, sorry, I forgot this is a high impact slide. Hopefully you guys are highly impacted. I'm kidding. But simply put, better data equals better results. I'll wait for everybody to get back in their chairs because I'm sure that high impact slide knocked everybody over. Nope. All right, moving on. So let's actually do one. So to boost that lead quality, we want to optimize for that lower funnel conversion. What we've got to do is talk about how far down that sales process we can get. By the way, little side note here before I get too into this. If you haven't mapped your customer journey, I can't recommend this enough for a variety of reasons. Besides the fact that it's going to help significantly with your return on ad spend, and I don't mean a little bit. We've been testing this for 2 years. It is significant. Adding that first party data in and understanding the customer journey to help bring back the higher value conversions. It's a significant impact in your spend and your return on ad spend. But also it can have some tremendous advantages, especially if as we look through these touch points, you think about identifying key performance indicators at each touch point. It's not the same KPI throughout. And then bonus points if you can even have leadership or ownership at each stage. So let me show you what I mean. We'll look at this short customer journey example. And by the way, I say short because in our space, we're kind of lucky. In travel, it's 6 months between when someone decides they're going to make a purchase and actually makes a purchase. In auto, it's 72 days for us. This can occur within 72 hours, right? So what happens is this is an example of the customer journey to me. Customer hits the landing page on your site. They then fill out a form, a phone call, or a online booking or web booking, whatever you call it. To date, this is where most companies have stopped optimizing to, right? They're like, winner, winner, chicken dinner, I brought you 100 phone calls. Not where we want to keep going to. You then map that customer journey to, oh, look, I booked a call, I ran a job, and then I sold the job. Each one of these, like I said, can have different KPIs and different values so that you can make sure you map that along the way. But you might find that once you map this out and you start optimizing your bidding, that boy, I really want to optimize to that run job. Maybe there's not enough volume there. If you're a smaller business, maybe that's not the best place. Experiment a little bit. You might find you have more success optimizing to a booked call. So that's where you want to map that customer journey out to really understand what those KPIs are for each section, and then start playing with that so you can optimize to that data. Does that make sense to everybody? And let me just tell you all a dirty little secret that I shouldn't tell you because I'm a marketer, but most marketers, like I said, if we're lucky, aren't getting past stage 0 or stage 1, right? If you're just optimizing to a call, I can tell you right now, 30% of your calls you're getting are BS. They're not valuable calls to your business. If I can start optimizing further down the funnel, even if I just cut the BS, think about that opportunity cost savings that you had for your call center, not having to deal with your warranties expiring. No, we don't hire people who don't have papers in the United States, right? No, we don't, whatever you want to say there. But if you can just even remove that BS, you've got your advantage, let alone the cost savings, so efficiency. And then as we get better saying, this is what we're looking for, Google will start bringing us more of those. And that's where you also see this thing skyrocket off. Customer journey, though, can be a little bit more complex too. I want to throw this out at you guys. We just saw that landing page to the form, fill, phone call, and online booking. And we just saw that process, right? But that process might look very different if it's a form fill. For instance, if my business is set up, and side note, this is what I would do. I would have a form fill going to a specific person or a team that just does inside sales because they've got a different purpose and they didn't call you for a reason. They filled out a form because they're not sold yet, right? To an inside sales team. then a booked call, then a run job, and then my sold. Or online booking or web booking, you might skip that entire book call process and it might just be run job and sold. So again, you can really start to get complicated. You don't need to get complicated out of the gate. Just lay this out. And again, not to do with digital marketing, but if you can then start laying KPIs out for each one of these, what do I expect my booked call rate to be? Do I expect my run call rate to be or cancellation rates to be? What do I expect my percentage of sold to be? What is my average ticket? You can start to really develop an entire KPI strategy here that's going to help you identify different spots throughout the process. And then three quick considerations I want to leave you guys all with. Customer lifetime value. I do not think we talk enough about this in the space at all. I just got done telling you, I'm going to back up here a second. Oh, let's book to the sold job. Well, you also have to consider the customer lifetime value in these scenarios. We did, and I don't have my notes up here, guys, because I'm on one screen, so bear with me, but we did a pretty extensive study with one of our smaller groups that we work with, but enough to be statistically relevant. And we looked at their customer lifetime value over just the course of 6 years. And what we found was it doesn't actually matter what their initial investment was on the first visit, whether they came in for a tune-up or they came in for an install. By the time that customer hit that 6-year customer lifetime value with the business, it actually had normalized. So it didn't matter how they came in. The customer had the same value after 6 years, whether their initial meeting was a tune-up or an install. So think about that. We think a lot of times, oh, we just did an $89 tune-up and we left. Well, if we do our job right with that customer lifetime value, that customer's been worth the same amount to us in 6 years as that customer that we did the install with or sold a big repair job to. So think about that too as you're processing through your customer journey. Overall marketing goals. This one's very selfish. So I'm gonna just put that out there for all you guys. Very selfish that I'm bringing this one up, but not every marketing campaign has the same marketing goal. So for instance, I should not expect the same type of return on ad spend for a video campaign that might be highly designed for branding as I would for a search campaign or a local service ads campaign. It's important to understand that up front, I think. Your branded campaigns, by the way, should have an impact on the success of your other campaigns. If you run a branded campaign and don't see a lift in your further funnel downstream campaigns, then you're doing something wrong. But they should each individually be measured and each individually have different measurements to them. Different campaigns result in different outcomes. And then the final third consideration is once you've got this process laid out, in addition, and I cannot stress this enough because we've seen it a ton, to the significant impact it's going to have on the improvements of your investments. There's also some other derived values from this. For example, you'll start to see process failure. If you lay out that customer journey and you lay out those KPIs and you say, I want a 55% booking rate on my PPC calls, and you see that drop to 45%, you'll instantly be able to identify where the breakdown in the process is. Other folks that are just looking at return on ad spend at the very end because they're just converting to a phone call, they're missing all those steps in the middle that might have affected that outcome. It also creates a perfect testing opportunity because now you've got that customer journey laid out. You understand when you remove a piece, what putting a piece back in can do and how it can implement how it can affect your testing. Any questions on all that? Everyone's like, this is so exciting. I don't know how I live without this data. No? You're all good? Okay. Well, then I'll leave you guys with this, the path to profit. 3 really simple steps. They do not have to be super complicated. I joke all the time that I barely passed high school. This is a barely passed exam here. We're going to do pass fails on this. You do not need to be A students to get this stuff done. Map your customer journey. Start out simple. Integrate your first party data. If you're not using systems like Sarah or Service Titan, I think that's going to be very challenging for you, but making sure you're including those in integrating your first party data is going to be tremendous. And then unlock that once you've got those 2 things done with the power of AI to be able to help improve your campaigns, your campaign performance, and overall return on ad spend. Any questions on any of that fire hose of nerd data I threw at you guys? Nope, no one has questions again? Well, if nobody has any questions, I think we made it to 25 minutes. What we'll do is we'll make sure we get this recording out to everybody so you can see it. If you have questions, whether you're a camp customer or not, which might take us a little bit of time to get back to you, but whether you're a camp customer or not, we are happy to help people with some templates to map customer journey. Happy to help talk people through how to integrate that first party data. Happy to talk about any AI tools that we're seeing or we're working on, or direct you to other resources, because we truly believe in the trades, and the rising tide definitely lifts all ships in this space.
Hi, Katie.
Yep.
Actually, I want to get to know more about the data with AI,
Mhm.
the step three. What would you recommend, and what is like the process?
That's such a good question, and such a huge question that could probably have its own. Let me just throw a couple quick things out at you. Once you start having that whole customer journey mapped out, you can turn on different components that are pre-built in AI within Google, Bing, Meta, any of the advertising, Reddit, Amazon. That really starts to help you convert. You just tell it what action you want to try and convert to, and then you're seeing it in real time. But when you have that customer journey mapped and you find some of those holes, you might find, for instance, and we did this with a customer, they had a tremendous issue with cancellation rates and drains. So they leaned
Mm-hmm.
into an AI product that helped them with dispatching. Once you've got it mapped out, you see where those holes are, right? And I'm telling you about something that's not even digital marketing. You see where those holes are and you go, huh, let's experiment, because now I also know what that KPI is. And they had a 45%. So I'm not telling you who they are, so I don't think I'll get in trouble for this, but a 45% cancellation rate on drains. Holy cow. So they popped in and I do not remember the name of their AI dispatching tool. So my apologies, but they popped in an AI dispatching tool and they saw that drop to 35% almost overnight. Which you didn't have to spend a penny more with your marketing company. You didn't have to spend a penny more at Google. You just made a lot more money. So I think it starts by laying those things out, setting those KPIs, and I would even suggest for businesses picking owners over each one of those steps, because then that owner can go out and say, I have an issue with answering my phones, right? My phone calls aren't getting answered. Is there AI tools that, yes, there is. Are there AI tools that can help me get those calls answered? And then are they helping me improve against my KPI, or am I failing against that KPI? In which case, try again. Did that answer the question?
Yes.
Any other questions or concerns?
Katie, I think one other example we heard recently from one of our AI partners was when people respond to a call or a lead within seconds, like with under a minute, the revenue generation potential versus 3 minutes versus an hour, right? So when the opportunity strikes, how quick you get back to them. If you remember the exact numbers, Katie, it was staggering. Like under a minute was your odds are huge
Yeah,
of
I don't,
success.
I know what you're talking about. I do not remember the stat off the top of my head, but again, that's why I say it's a bonus. I'm a digital marketer. I want you guys to do this because we see what the impact is to the return on ad spend. But everything we're just talking about naturally comes down to, if I know what I want and this is a very simple version. I would have call answered in under what time frames, call booked, dispatched, cancellation rates run. You can get this thing pretty well laid out. But the more you lay it out, the more KPIs you set. Okay, well, I don't want my cancel. If you are a Nextstar member, you don't want your cancellation rate to be under 10%. That's what they coach to, right? Or over 10%, excuse me. That's what they coach to. So I would say that's my benchmark. But what am I really at? And then what can I do to improve it? And I think what you'll find is what Matt was talking about, is these small micro adjustments against this can make huge impacts to your overall investment. You already spent the money up front. All this money is sunk. Let's get as much as we can through that pipeline to get to the green at the end.
Katie, we had a couple questions in chat. Tom was asking, what are the best AI tools for missed calls that you've seen?
That's a good question, because they're changing so hot and heavy. I would say two things. One is I know Zyra's got a really cool tool that I've been hearing a lot. We have a couple clients on. I've been very, very impressed with it. Zyra Chat, Zyra Talk, I think they're called Zyra Talk out of Phoenix. But I will also tell you there is a guy in the trades named Jason Price. He runs marketing for My Plumber, but I think you can follow him on LinkedIn. He has spent more time investing in that specific space than anybody I know in the space. Again, his name is Jason Price. He is at My Plumber in Manassas, Virginia. I strongly recommend that you follow him in the space. He did a whole podcast the other day where the podcast he was interviewing was an AI chatbot. Like there's no one better than Jason. He's amazing. But to answer that question directly to Tom, I think I would look at, if I was you, there's a couple. Who Hire, I think, has got some stuff they're experimenting in. I don't know if that's out released yet though. And Zyra Talk has a great one. Zyra Talk I've seen in use. There's also I think Lace AI, but I think they do call recording. I don't think they do the actual call answering yet. But Zyra Talk, I've heard with my own ears and does a pretty darn good job. The only thing I will tell you that I've seen with a lot of these is if you put it in place, make sure you have an abandon ship button, because when people don't want to talk to a machine, they really don't want to talk to a machine. So make sure any solution you implement, if you you have a get out of jail free button so they can get to a human. Any other questions?
No.
Because I really appreciate everyone's time. I hope everyone got a little bit of lunch in as well. And like I said, we'll make sure we get this presentation and this recording out to everybody if you need it. And whether you're a customer or not, please honestly reach out. Might just take us a little bit of time, but we will get back to you and help any way we can.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.